10 surprising facts about the human brain you didn't know. Did you know that in every manner, our brains are significantly more effective than computers? Or that our brains contain 100,000 miles of blood vessels, enough to travel around the globe 4 times. Within them, neuroscience, psychology, and behavior are deeply ingrained in our understanding of the brain and are all rife with both recent advances and open questions. Welcome to the Amazed channel. If you are deeply curious, subscribe, and let's dive in. Are you aware of the incredible abilities of the brain? We wanted to share with you some of our favorite brain-related facts. Include one of these fascinating brain facts in a conversation, incorporate it into your lesson plan, or simply read on for your own education, which, by the way, will build new neural connections in your brain. Let's check out some of these crazy facts. You'll still be fine even if you lose half your brain. So even if our individual definitions of okay may vary, for the most part, we can function normally with only half of our brains. A hemispherectomy, which involves surgically removing half the brain, is uncommon. Typically, this treatment is used to treat those with severe seizure disorders. Depending on the individual, losing half of your brain might have a different impact on you. You'd probably still be yourself, but you would not be as cognitively sharp. 6 individuals who had undergone hemispherectomies as youngsters were studied during a recent study, and it was discovered that their cognitive capacities were normal and that they shared the same neural networks as entire brains. The misconception that we only use 10% of our brains has nothing to do with this fascinating truth. We use every part of our brains, but the brain is more flexible than, for instance, our lungs, because no one area is predominant and because it can form new neural connections. Can you survive with half a brain? Is a question that researchers have attempted to address outside of hemispherectomies. So far, the answer is yes. They recently looked into a case of a woman losing her entire cerebellum. Aside from occasional awkwardness, she is leading a totally normal life. Instead of remembering events, you remember memories. Our memories are significantly less reliable than we would like them to be, because every time we recall something, we are making a copy of a copy. When you recall something that has happened, your brain accesses the most recent recollection of the incident rather than the actual event itself. Details may vary since your brain essentially recreates memories every time you access them. Was her outfit blue or green? Despite these alterations, each time we think back on a memory, we make it stronger as a method of reaffirming its significance in our brains. Additionally, our brain develops new neural pathways whenever we recollect memories. Alcoholism can change your brain permanently. There is no mystery to how alcohol affects the brain, which in turn impacts behavior. Drinking impairs judgment and interferes with the capacity to plan and execute tasks like driving, etc. However, alcohol and the brain do not get along well when used heavily and often. Alcohol has been shown to permanently harm memory and cognitive function, including the development of dementia. Some conditions, like sleep disorders and mood swings, can last forever. The hippocampus, which is in charge of functions like learning and memory, was shown to atrophy far more frequently in heavy drinkers. Learning to control cravings, impulses, as well as the feelings and stress they bring, is a necessary step in recovering from addiction, whether it be to a substance like alcohol or a behavior like overeating. In order to achieve this, you may educate your brain to manage desires, be resilient, and develop more effective coping mechanisms. What's above it is significantly affected by the body below your neck. Brain health is correlated with physical health. The performance of your brain is influenced by what you put in your stomach, thus the phrase, brain food. It's crucial to stay hydrated because even a 2% dehydration can lead to a decline in focus, memory, and cognitive function. The fact that sweating for 90 minutes can shrink your brain and cause it to age by a year is another proof that the brain is impacted by water loss from the body. Brain health and exercise go hand in hand. The benefits of exercise for the brain include an increase in learning potential and a reduction in inevitable cognitive deterioration. Regular exercisers who go over and above the advised amount can actually delay the onset of dementia by up to 10 years. Your brain craves oxygen. The brain consumes a substantial amount of oxygen. It uses 20% of your body's oxygen, which is 3 times as much as your muscles do. Oxygen is necessary for the brain's proper operation and self-healing. You may increase the amount of oxygen your brain receives in addition to deep breathing by eating foods that promote oxygenation. Brain cells begin to perish after 5 minutes without oxygen. The extent of the brain damage increases with the length of the deprivation. This is one of the reasons why disorders like sleep apnea, which deprive our brains of the oxygen they require, may have such a negative impact on their ability to function during the day. Take the total brain assessment if you have daytime fatigue and difficulty concentrating. This test includes a sleep apnea screening in addition to other difficulties. Deep breathing exercises should be done throughout the day to improve the amount of oxygen that gets to your brain, which will reduce stress and increase vitality. For short, 5-minute oxygen increases, try the breathing exercises in Total Brains collection. The 20s are when the brain peaks. The prefrontal cortex, which doesn't fully develop until age 25, can be held partially responsible for some of a teen's poor decision-making. It is the area of the brain that is in charge of understanding long-term effects as a foundation for sound judgment and decision-making. The real kicker is that your brain begins to experience cognitive decline in your late 20s, which causes a protracted, downward trend in abilities like memory. This happens just as your brain achieves actual adulthood. The brain continues to develop until the late 40s and is the only organ in the body to change over such a long period of time, according to what we now know about how the brain changes with age. Our brain's gray matter reaches its maximum size right before puberty, and our spinal cords cease growing at age 4. After being reduced during adolescence, development then transfers to the frontal lobe, where the prefrontal cortex is located. An MIT study found that around the age of 18, your ability to learn a language starts to wane. Your brain will start to struggle with some tasks after the mid-30s. For instance, it gets tougher to associate faces with names. It is normal for the brain to decrease with age. A person in their 70s can only recognize roughly 75% of persons. Different, but equal, male and female brains. The size and processing characteristics of the male and female brains differ somewhat, according to imaging studies. Although the average male brain is 10% larger than a female brain, IQ is unaffected by size in this situation. According to other research, men and women experience pain in the brain in different ways. Women, for instance, are more sensitive to pain. Despite utilizing less gray matter than men do and more white matter than men do, women have more gray matter in their brains. In social decision-making and stress management, the male brain appears to be different from the female brain. However, there is still more to learn about the differences that lead to them. 9,766 iPhone 7s equals our brain. Modern computers can perform some things that the human brain cannot, yet there are other areas where our minds still outperform technology. The equivalent of 2.5 million terabytes of info may fit in a human's memory. An iPhone 7 has just 256, for comparison. Researchers discovered that the drivers of London's taxis, who are renowned for knowing every side street and alternate route, had larger hippocampuses, the brain region responsible for memory. According to the study, the hippocampus of an individual would grow in size the more information they must memorize, potentially increasing the amount of storage space in the brain. Even though scientists still don't fully understand the mechanisms in which the brain stores information, such as why some memories are more precise and vivid than others, we now know enough to have created strategies for memory enhancement. Memory exercises that strengthen your brain are now as simple to do as playing a game on your phone. Learn something new? We hope so, and if you think this was brain blasting, keep watching more on our channel. Hope you enjoyed the video. Follow for more.